how's it going? It's me, Betty Jean. We are here today in my little library because I want to do a book tag. I recently saw Larry Reed's post the mid-year book tag, which Sarah Caroli initially did, and I'm pretty sure I did this last year as well, and it kind of like re-inspired me to do it again this year because I just love talking about books. My main focus on my channel is definitely more beauty related, but I love sprinkling in book content. I do like my reading wrap-up get ready with me's at the beginning of each month. I'm constantly sharing in vlogs like what I'm reading and when I buy books and my TBRs for the month and stuff like that, and it's just so fun. I love reading so incredibly much, and I wanted to do the mid-year book tag again this year since we are halfway through the year. Before we hop into the video itself, I did of course film this look. It should already be up on my channel by the time this video goes up. It's from my 2 looks video with the new Nomad Cosmetics Keys Beachy and Peachy palette, so you can check that out if you're interested. And as far as my accessories today go, these earrings are from the brand En Route, and this is just an old basic choker. So yeah, without further ado, let's just hop in and answer these book questions. Question number 1, best book you've read so far in 2023. Now, I've definitely had a few 5-star reads, and I'm going to try my best not to repeat answers for these questions. So some of these books could have potentially been in multiple categories, but as I'm trying to keep it contained to just one per question as best as I can, I ended up giving the answer to this question, Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. This is the 3rd book in the Part of Your World series, and I loved this so much. The characters were so good. I loved Emma and Justin so much. Their stories were just so deep, and there's so much, like, it's a rom-com at the end of the day, but there's so much more layered to like the characters and what they're going through. And I just loved seeing how they kind of overcame their obstacles. I loved the way they came together. Both of the characters in this book think that they have this curse where every time they're dating somebody, the next person that person dates ends up being their soulmate. So they end up connecting and decide, like, what if we started dating each other to cancel out the curse? Things start to develop, connections are forming. Again, they're overcoming their own personal obstacles in life. It was just so good. I gobbled this up. I read it so fast. Abby Jimenez's writing style is just so immersive. Like, I just feel like I'm in another world when I read her books, and this was such an amazing book. I loved it so much. Question number 2, best sequel you read so far in 2023. Now, I'm taking this question to mean like maybe I read the beginning stages of a like trilogy, duology series, what have you, last year in 2023, and I'm reading some other version of said series this year. So I'm just giving it to Kingdom of Ash specifically. In the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas, I started reading the Throne of Glass series at the end of last year, and most of it I did read this year. So a lot of the books in the series I could have used for the answer to this one. But I mean, Kingdom of Ash was just such an ultimate finale to a series. It was so good. It is a chunky boy, and I loved it so much. I wish I could read this series again for the first time ever. It was just so amazing. I loved seeing how all these different characters developed and how it all entangled. I can't even really give you a quick synopsis. It's definitely a fantasy sort of vibe. We start with this one initial main character, Selena, and then just as the series goes on, we're meeting so many more characters and getting so many more stories and the way it all intertwines. And it just, oh, it wrapped up so good. This was such a beautiful, amazing finale. I loved this so much. This one I almost put for answer number 1 as well because I just was obsessed with this whole series. But Kingdom of Ash was just such a good finale, so I felt like it fit this answer the best. Question number 3, new release you haven't read yet but want to. And I'm going to give that answer to Funny Story by Emily Henry. And the only reason I haven't yet is because I'm stubborn and I'm going to wait until it's on paperback next year. I did that with Happy Place as well. I didn't read it at all when it came out last year. I waited until about a month or so ago when it was finally on paperback, and then I finally bought it and read it. So I'm going to do the same thing with Funny Story. Part of me is itching to just get the ebook and read it now and then buying the physical later. But I also don't love to do that. Like, if I've read the ebook, I'm probably not going to buy the physical. That's just like not me. But I want to read this so bad. I've heard such good things about it. Again, I probably won't even get to it until next year when it's on paperback, but this is the ultimate answer to this question. It's a new release, highly anticipated. I want to read it so bad, but I'm going to be stubborn and wait. Question number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Let me pull up my little notes real quick. I have a specific note of like book buying priorities, and some of these I even listed dates for like the second half of the year. Okay, I have 2 answers that I want to say for this. First being Throne of Secrets. This is part of the Kingdom of the Wicked world. Last year we got Envy's separate kind of story that was still in the same world as the Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy, but this was his story specifically, and it was so good. That was such a good book. I enjoyed the Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy, but I loved Envy's story. What was it even called? Throne of the Fallen, I think? Something like that. Well, we're getting Sloth's story, I believe it's Sloth's story, Throne of Secrets, and I am just so excited. I really hope we get all 7 stories of all 7 of the entities. Like we have Sloth, Envy, you know, the 7 deadly sins, if you will. So I'm super excited about that. I think it's supposed to come in September. And then I'm also so excited for The Wedding Witch. This is the 3rd one in the X-Hex series, and I am so excited. I only just got back into reading last February. Basically, ever since leaving like elementary school, middle school, high school, early adulthood, I just like lost my love for reading, and I regained it last year. And the first book I bought last February that got me back into reading was the X-Hex, and then I immediately read the sequel, The Kiss Curse, and I have been anxiously awaiting this 3rd one. It's gotten pushed back multiple times. I think it was supposed to come out last year, but it's finally coming this October, and I'm just so excited. It feels like such a full circle moment to kind of go back to that world that like restarted it all for me. I have read so many books since last February. It's insane, and I'm just so excited to like dive back into that world. Question number 5 is biggest surprise, and I took this 2 ways. Like I wanted to give a positive surprise and a negative surprise. The positive surprise is the Magnolia Parks universe. I read all of these through the Libby app on my Kindle, so I don't have them physical. But I loved this series, and I went into it not sure how I was gonna feel because people seem to either love or hate it. I loved it. It's definitely, in my opinion, not a romance series. I feel like if you go into it looking for a romance series, it's just so toxic and infuriating. But if you go into it just like wanting to explore the complexities of all these different characters, and they're like rich London socialites, and there's like a mob boss involved, like there's all these different layers and things going on, I just loved it. I loved how lyrical the writing was. It was just such a fun series. There's 5 books out so far, and I think there are 2 more to come that are more specifically Daisy's stories rather than Magnolia's, and I'm so excited. I'm glad that it's not over. Now that I've like discovered it, I'm so glad that I have more to await me. It is just so good. I love it so much. And then biggest surprise on the flip side, I read the Red Queen series this year by Victoria Aveyard. I have all 4 books. I enjoyed the first one, kind of like a YA dystopian fantasy situation. I was so excited to dive into this. I have multiple friends that are obsessed with this series. I've had multiple recommendations for this series. I liked the first one. I got given the second one as a gift from a friend, and I bought the last 2. And I did not end up loving the series as a whole. I felt like literally after book number 1, it just was so slow. The main character was so annoying. I struggled to get through it, if I'm being honest with you. Like if I could go back, I would have just stopped at the first one and not continued, because the other 3 were just boring and disappointing, and I was not obsessed with it, and I really wish I was. And if you love that series, I'm so happy for you, because that's what I wanted to feel. But unfortunately, that was a big surprise for me, because I was not expecting to dislike it. Truly went into that series expecting it to also become one of my favorite things. Next question is favorite new author, debut, or new to you. I went with just a new to me. I read Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell recently, and I loved this. I'd never read any of her thrillers before, and I just gobbled this up. I loved the writing style. I loved how fast-paced it was. The story was so out there and crazy. Our main character, one of her daughters had disappeared like 10 years ago. We don't know what happened. It was just kind of an unsolved thing. Well, now she's just going about her life trying to like move on. Her and her husband had split up. The family's kind of in shambles, if you will. She meets this new guy. Things are going along great, but his daughter has a weird, striking resemblance to her daughter that went missing 10 years ago. So we're trying to figure out like what's the connection here, what's happening. It was good. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was just super immersive and fast-paced, and I want to read more of her books, so if you have any more recommendations, let me know. But this was a new author to me that I'm really into right now. I feel like I'm very into thrillers at the moment. Like I mostly bounce between romance, fantasy, thriller, and I kind of mood read depending on what I'm in the mood for, obviously. But right now I'm kind of itching for thrillers. That's just kind of what I'm into. I guess to piggyback off that, I also read my first Frida McFadden book. I just finished it yesterday, and I really enjoyed it. It was The Teacher, like definitely icky, but it was again just so immersive and fast-paced and easy. Like these are easy thrillers, I feel like very digestible. I don't have to like think too hard. I can just really immerse myself in the story. And I know Frida McFadden's a favorite amongst a lot of people, so if you have any specific recommendations, let me know. I know The Housemaid is one that's really popular, so I want to get to that one, but if you have other recommendations, I'm happy to hear them. Next up, newest fictional crush. So with this kind of question, I like never really know what to answer just because I don't know. I feel like depending on the book, like I can be so obsessed with any character at any given time, depending on like what I'm into. I feel like I am going to piggyback on past answers here, but Justin from Just for the Summer was so great. Very much like that golden retriever kind of mailman character, just so sweet and so kind, and I loved him so much. And then also in the Throne of Glass series, Manon, our witchy queen, she's just amazing. I love her so much. She is everything. So those will be my picks for this answer. Book that made you cry. I again have 2 answers for this one because I have kind of a horribly sad cry and then also like a happy cry. Super sad cry is A Little Life. This was the saddest book ever. It was so well written. It was beautifully written. It was beautifully told, but it was so incredibly heartbreaking. Like by far the saddest book I've read. It was so heart-wrenching. I was literally sobbing. I didn't even think I could finish it when I got like 60% of the way through, but I pushed through and then it just continued to stay sad. And I knew it was going to be like just sad the whole time going into it. And that was not an over-exaggeration. It was so, so sad, but it was amazing. I have no words. We're just going through these 4 different guys' lives who like kind of connected in college and going throughout their lives with mostly the focus on Jude. And it is heart-wrenching. It was so sad and so good. And then I also cried during Happy Place by Emily Henry. Again, I waited a whole year until this was on paperback, but I finally read it and it was so good. Like not only do we have the romance kind of problems going on between Harriet and Wynne, they are kind of like, we're together for a long time, they broke up, then all the friends are getting back together for this one last summer at this like summer lake house, and they have to pretend to still be together because they haven't told their friends that they broke up yet. So we have that kind of drama going on, which that wasn't even the part that like got to me. What got to me was this book very much reflects sort of that feeling of having this tight-knit friend group for a long time. And then as time goes on and as we age and as opportunities happen, you see people kind of separating and going different directions. And that just hit so hard, like seeing like friendships, not even fizzle out, but just kind of like change throughout the years. And it was such a good book. I loved this so much. I think People We Meet on Vacation is still my favorite by Emily Henry, but I think this is a close second, if not tied for first. Next up, book that made you happy. I decided to give it to This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. I was so pumped to read this. I read both of her books that she'd come out with last year. I loved Every Summer After. It's still one of my top favorite romances of all time. Meet Me at the Lake was good. I wasn't as obsessed with it, but I still enjoyed it because I really like her writing style. But This Summer Will Be Different is amazing. I feel like I would also tie this for first place with Every Summer After. It was just so good. We have our girl Lucy. She's vacationing with her best friend Bridget to her hometown, Bridget's hometown on Prince Edward Island, which I am wanting to vacation there so bad now. Hopefully 1 year, because it just seems like such a vibe. But she arrived before her friend on their first trip ever one summer, like back in the day. And she ends up hooking up with this guy named Felix, who turns out that's Lucy's brother, who she basically said, like, do not ever, like, get with my brother. So we just have this kind of, like, past and present timeline of, like, what's going on right now in preparation for Bridget's wedding, while Lucy's also dealing with, like, some fallout that happened in previous years with Felix. And we're getting all the different summers where she goes back to visit and, like, just the growth of their relationship and stuff. It was just such a vibe. I loved the characters. I loved Felix and Lucy together. I loved the banter. I loved the setting. It was just such a happy, fun time. I loved this so much. Again, I gobbled it up. I read it so fast. I really enjoy Carly Fortune's writing style, and this book made me so happy. Like, not only was I happy about just a new release from her, but this just was such a fun time. I enjoyed it so much. Next up, most beautiful book you've bought this year, and I have to give it to this Barnes & Noble special edition of Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I am so excited to read this. I actually haven't read it yet, but I'm reading it very soon. I'm finishing up a current book right now. I'll probably be done by tonight, and then this is the next book I'm jumping into, but it has like the pretty fluffy pages, like this gorgeous cover. It's just so pretty. I love it. I'm so excited to dive into this book. I really hope I like it. This one seems to be kind of conflicting, like people either love it or not so much, but I hear it's just a very like cozy kind of fantasy. Like there's not a whole lot of craziness going on, so hopefully I just go into it with the right intentions, but I'm very excited to start this one, hopefully either late tonight or tomorrow. I hope it's a fun time. Last but not least, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? And I have kind of two series that go together that I'd really like to not only start but also finish by the end of this year. It's the Caraval and Once Upon a Broken Heart series by Stephanie Garber. I think you start with the Caraval series, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's what I read. So I really want to read the Caraval series and then the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. Don't ask me why I have the beginnings of both of these series. I don't even have the full series because I try not to buy whole series until I know I like the story. I think these were both just on like a buy one get one half off table, and I knew they were things that I eventually wanted to get to. So that's how I ended up with both. In retrospect, I probably would have just gotten this one first, but hopefully I love this and then want to jump into this one. But these are two series that I've been itching to read for a long time. I picked them up this year and I'm hoping to not only start them this year, but finish both series this year. And I guess honorable mention that I don't even have yet, but I'd really like to start and read the Crescent City books. I know there's 3 out right now. I don't know if there's more coming or if it's done. I have no idea. I don't know much about that series, but it's the only Sarah J. Maas series I haven't read yet because I've done ACOTAR, I've done Throne of Glass, anxiously awaiting more ACOTAR, please and thank you, but I do want to get to the Crescent City series at some point. And yeah, that about wraps it up for this mid-year book tag. I had a lot of fun. I just love talking about books. It's just a fun time. It's my happy place and it makes me just so joyful to share this with you, and I love hearing your recommendations and what you think about the books that I've also read, and it's just a fun place, and I enjoy it so much, and I appreciate you for being here, those of you who are going to watch this. It's just like our fun little corner of my channel where we love both makeup and spooky things and books and cats and just all the fun things. But thank you so much for being here and hanging out. I will have the questions in my description box as well as Larry and Sarah's channels. Feel free to partake in this tag as well, whether you film your own video or just answer the questions in the comments. I would love to know your answers. And just let me know what you think about the books I mentioned today, whether it's ones that I've read already or ones that I haven't gotten to yet. I just want to hear all the thoughts. If you made it to the end of this video, leave some book emojis, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Helps my channel out a lot, and if you're not already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm BATTYBEAN there as well. And also, you can subscribe. I'm posting most days over here. And if you wanna, you can join my channel memberships. The link to sign up will be down below. You'll get fun little perks, including a members-only video once a month. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Okay, bye.